Can I just say I don't get the wailing and gnashing of teeth from a large segment of UVA basketball fans who seem up in arms over the way the roster reconstruction is going. Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. Yeah, yeah, I'm sighing. I'm frustrated. UVA basketball coach Ryan Odom I think he's been doing a pretty good job on the transfer portal. I mean, one, yeah, there are folks frustrated that wow, we're losing Isaac McNeely. He scored 14.4 points per game. We're losing, I mean, Andrew Rohde. A lot of guys are in the portal. I don't know that anybody will come back who's in the portal. Maybe Elijah Saunders, but I'm not sure that anybody's going to come back. All right, let's just do a reality check here real quick at the top. That roster got that coach fired. That roster got the Tony Bennett regime era ended prematurely. Okay. It's only been 6 years since the national title, and now we've gone completely in a different direction. So that roster, I don't know that there should be a lot of sentimentality here. I mean, it depends. I mean, if you want to trot the same guys out there with a different coach and hope for a different result, fine. There's a reason we call that the definition of insanity. I mean, doing the same thing over and over and hoping for a different result. But no, Odom plays a certain style of basketball. Right? Let's just say it right there. And it's not the Tony Bennett style of basketball. Tony Bennett style of basketball works. Coaches, there's there in college basketball particularly, there are so many ways to win games. Tony Bennett's style was very successful. Obviously, six ACC regular season championships in an 11-year stretch, two ACC tournament titles, a national title in 2019. I mean, good, obviously very good. His system worked for him and the way he coached, and then it stopped working. And he stepped down, and it didn't work when his acolytes took it over and ran it for a year. So it's time to move on, and UVA athletics is moving on, and they're moving on in a different direction. And Ryan Odom does not coach Tony Bennett basketball. He doesn't win that way. He wins his own way. He's won at UMBC. He's won at Utah State. He's won at VCU. And for those who want to say, well, those are all small conference schools or mid-major schools, Tony Bennett came to Virginia from Washington State. That's a Pac-12 school, but not a marquee Pac-12 school. And he was only there for 3 years. And then he came to Virginia. It took him 4 years to finally start winning. He was the fifth year is when he started winning. And so, um, I'm hoping we don't have to wait 5 years for Ryan Odom to start winning, but okay, just put in perspective on these things. Ryan Odom will play up tempo. He likes guards who can penetrate the lane. Tony Bennett played slow tempo. His guards passed the ball around the perimeter. I mean, and it worked. Obviously, the mover blocker offense with the big setting screens constantly, the guards running off them. That action being the centerpiece of the offense. That's not the approach that Ryan Odom's going to use. He wants three guards. Three of his guards can penetrate, get in the lane, create for themselves, create for teammates. He likes a power forward, what we call the four in the five player lineup. His four is a stretch four. He likes a guy who is between 6'8" and 6'10" who can shoot threes. And then he likes a five who is athletic and can play defense, rebound, and offensive rebound and protect the rim and that kind of thing. That's what he's going to do. You know, it's going to work, but you got to find the guys to make it work. And none of the guys, I don't think I'm overstating it. None of the guys that he was set to inherit from Tony Bennett, Ron Sanchez fit the mold. Maybe Elijah Saunders because he's a 6'8" stretch four. If he can play up tempo, I didn't pay attention to, and probably need to see. Saunders played at San Diego State for 2 years. They went to the Final Four when he was there. To see the tempo he would have been part of there. To see if maybe he can adjust there. We know that the new coaching staff has done workouts with the members of the previous team. Now, a lot of those guys are obviously leaving, but they're still in school at Virginia through the end of the semester. They got to look at their guys. They had a chance to evaluate the talent. There were two pretty intense scrimmage-like workouts, and now guys are leaving. The guys aren't leaving because other schools are offering more money. Guys are leaving because the coaching staff said you're probably not going to fit here. And so Okay, get to the point now. Last night, the latest pickup. I'll go through them sort of in reverse order, I guess. Dallin Hall is the latest pickup, kid from BYU. He was a 2-year full-time starter at BYU. Then last year, when BYU and a new coach, Kevin Young, picked up a guy named Igor Demon, who is going to be a lottery pick. There was talk about him, even contending early in the season at least to be the number one pick with him and Cooper Flagg maybe one and two. Um, he played point and Hall lost his starting job, came off the bench and still got 24.6 minutes. So it's not like he was completely glued to the bench or anything. His counting numbers as a result, though, went down a bit, 6.8 points and 4.2 assists in 24.6 minutes a game. Shot 40.2% from the floor, 35.3% from three. Um, Now, one thing that you might start noticing when you start seeing us play several months from now, the Ryan Odom system, I mentioned that he likes his guards to get in the paint, get to the rim, and then he likes to shoot threes. You won't see mid-range jumpers. You know those Isaac McNeely fadeaway floaters from 16 feet that started going in, but when you saw him shoot them, you'd say, "What the heck is he doing here? This is a tough shot for two." Um, the Ryan Odom teams don't shoot mid-range jumpers. Dallin Hall attempted four mid-range jumpers all of last season. Four all last season. It fits the mold. He already plays the style of ball that Odom wants his guards to play. He's a big guy, 6'4", 200. Um, you know, he gets to the rim, not quite as much. I'll point. Well, yeah, not quite as Odom picked up another power conference point guard, and this is where things get interesting because all the criticism that I'm seeing is, oh, too many guys from mid majors and small conferences. Well, I mean, so there's a kid from BYU which plays in the Big 12, and then Duke Miles from Oklahoma, SEC. Both those squads, by the way, made the NCAA tournament. Miles was the starting point guard at Oklahoma this past season. So when I talk about Odom likes his guys to get in the lane, Hall was 27 of 47, 57.4% on shots at the rim, and 31 of 63 overall in the paint. So those are actually sort of depressed numbers for what Odom likes. Miles this past season was 41 of 58 at the rim and had 101 attempts and made 63 of them in the paint. So adept at both guys are adept at getting to the rim and in the paint. Miles averaged 9.4 points and 2.0 assists per game and 24.6 minutes a game. So both those guys played similar minutes. Miles shot 51.4% from the floor, 43.0% from three. Now there's three point guards in the rotation because we remember that the first pickup of the Odom era. Actually, I mean, Odom was announced as the coach on Saturday. We now know that he agreed to terms on Friday. So 24 hours roughly into his tenure, he already picked up a highly touted point guard recruit in Chance Mallory, local kid from St. Anne's Belfield. So there's three point guards now in this rotation. And Getting to the backcourt then, two guys who can put the ball in the hole. Sam Lewis from Toledo was the first pickup, actually, the first transfer commit for Odom. That was this past weekend. Lewis is a 6'6", 200-pound off guard, averaged 16.2 points per game for Toledo in the MAC. Don't sleep on MAC basketball, man. MAC basketball's pretty good. Um, Lewis shot 47% from the floor, 44.4% from three. He gets in the paint a lot. I mentioned he had 104 attempts at the rim and 172 in the paint. Those are bonkers numbers for a guy. Good defensive guy too. 3.8 defensive rebounds per game. Defensive rebound rate at 14.5% was 84th percentile nationally. He fits the profile of what Odom wants out of his off guards, and so does the other off guard pickup, a 6'3", 190 pounds rising senior named Jakari White from North Dakota State. 17.1 points and 4.3 rebounds per game, 45.2% from the floor, 39.8% from three. Both these guys, by the way, get to the foul line a lot. White, 3.9 free throw attempts per game. Uh, what was it? Lewis, 3.8 attempts per game. So you want guys who can get to the line. Um, Gets the paint with regularity, does White as well. 62 attempts, 119 attempts in the paint. So not quite as proficient as Lewis as Lewis in that respect, but man, both these guys can attack. Um, And that's what Odom wants. He again he expects, and if his leading assist guy last year was Max Shoga, his 6'6", 215 pound three guard. So he wants, there's a point guard to find. God brings the ball up the court and sets the offense, but he wants all of his guards, all three of his guards. He's going to play three guards like that's the only thing that he does similar to Tony. Three guard lineup, not two guards, two forwards, one center. You'll see a three guard lineup, but he wants all three of his guys to be able to, do some damage with the basketball in their hands, getting into the paint, creating for themselves. If the defense sags, to then create for their teammates on perimeters and backdoor cuts and that kind of thing. So that's five guys. He's going to play a 9 or 10 man rotation, probably a 10 man rotation. Odom hinted that, of course. I mean, the way he plays up tempo, the way he likes to press with his defense, but full court, three-quarter court, half court presses. Then when they're in a half court defense, the guys are still up in guys' faces. There's no sitting back. I mean, the Tony Bennett defense was designed. I mean, the only time you saw a full court press was late in the game if you were behind. And it wasn't very good because they didn't work on it very much. Because your base defense was let the other team bring the ball up the court, and then we'll just clamp down on them when they get inside the half court offense. And whereas Odom, he likes his guards to get out there up in guys' grills. And, if they get past, there's a racer back behind the scenes there. So, um, and it works. I mean, again, there's so many different ways of doing things, and so many different ways things can work in college basketball. And Odom's system works for him. He was his VCU team this past season actually gave up less points per game than Virginia did this past season. And Odom, on a defensive efficiency standpoint, was ranked 26th. His team was ranked 26th in the country this past season in defensive efficiency by KenPom. So there's a lot to work with there. So, where I've been critical is, I've been critical of the decisions with the coaching staff not to retain either Kyle Guy or Isaiah Wilkins. Both have been let go. I think that's just bad PR. I'm hearing some rumblings from the Tony Bennett era alums that there's, some hurt feelings, as you kind of would expect over how things went down with the end of the Tony era. That's not anybody at UVA Athletics' fault. Tony stepped down on his own volition. But then, some folks in that group feel that maybe Sanchez wasn't given a fair shot. Whatever the case, I mean, he was given a shot. And so one way to make sure that you keep the alums happy. I mean, I'm okay. I'm in my podcast room to my right, probably your left, I guess. Is I've got this collection of jerseys, and I've got a lot of baseball jerseys and a lot of basketball jerseys. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of our guys in the NBA who played in the Tony era who are still playing in the NBA. You want those guys to be still part of your program. I mean, yeah, it's, new coaching regime. Odom has one full-time assistant spot left to fill. He brought in Griff Aldrich, who worked with him at UMBC before Aldrich left to go to take the head job at Longwood and was there for several years. The other full-time assistants at this stage are guys who worked with Odom at VCU. He's bringing a lot of support staff from VCU, which is fine. Work with the people that you're familiar with. I understand that. But you got one assistant position left. To me, there'd be two advantages of keeping either Kyle or Isaiah, and putting them in that fifth position. One, I mean, yeah, the political part of having a recent alum who played, who was also a coach, uh, and also having a young guy who can sell the program and its virtues to the recruits. I think there's a benefit there. In both those guys' cases, they coached and played in big games and can, be helpful working with the players, particularly in that respect. I mean, Kyle Guy had ice in his veins and made three free throws with 7/10 of a second left in the final four. He had ice in his veins. I was in the arena that night. I could barely breathe. And I was on the floor. I was 120 feet away. I could barely breathe, and that kid made the three free throws. Um, there's You can't you know the to be able to tell people what that's like, you can't just read a book. I mean, he lived it. Played in the NBA off and on for a few years. There's a lot that can help there. And then so there's all that. Isaiah Wilkins, I mean, Isaiah Wilkins is a valuable guy. He played at UVA for 4 years. He was a glue guy, kind of guy that was a coach on the floor when he played. Played in Europe in the G League for 3 years, came back, got his graduate degree, was a grad assistant, then a full-time assistant. I mean, reach out to the alums. It's actually a benefit to have one of those guys around. There's a flub. One of those two guys, maybe both could have been retained in some capacity. I mean, one guy maybe on the front bench, one guy on the back bench. Didn't do it, so that's whatever it is. So there's some reasonable criticism. The criticism of the roster, man, I tell you what, I love what he's doing roster wise. I love what Ryan Odom's doing roster wise. Now you got to focus on the bigs. Got to get some bigs. Got to get a stretch four. He did get a kid that was with him at VCU, redshirted this past year, 6'8" kid from France named Martin Carrere. Sure I'm pronouncing that name wrong. I took French in high school and college, but it's been a while. 6'8", 180, needs getting the weight room and work out a little bit, but from the standpoint of being a 6'8" kid who will eventually play at probably 200, 210, he's a stretch four who can shoot the three. He played for the French national U18 team that competed in the FIBA Eurobasket tournament last summer, 20 of 24. And he shot 41.9% from three in the 7 games. And shot the ball total from the floor 35 times, 31 of those were threes. This kid shoots, he's a 6'8" kid who shoots threes. Got to get a little bit of weight on him so he can be a help on the defensive end, especially with rebounding. But Carrere fits the motif. I'm searching for the word there. He's a project. He's got 4 years of eligibility left. So because he redshirted as a freshman this past season at VCU. But he's not going to be a guy I would expect who would contribute immediately. We'll see. I mean, he's got the summer to integrate himself into the EVA situation here. But you're going to want to find at least one, maybe two veteran guys to play that four spot, and then you got to go out and find one or two uh, guys who can play the 4-5. Again, I mentioned 10-man rotation. I think you got five of your six guards. You're going to want to have. I think you're going to want to have six guards. Um, and then for the two forward positions, you're going to have probably four guys who can give you minutes. Three of those will probably play. So maybe it's more of a maybe even 8-man rotation eventually. But um, you're going to want to have six in the backcourt, four in the front court who can be the pool from which you decide what your rotation is. You got 15 scholarships. You can use a few on developmental people, and then kind of see where it goes from there. But I like what he's doing from that perspective. I wish that Odom had thought through the coaching thing a little differently, but he didn't. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's gonna make a misstep. But in any case, we're gonna see. So keep up with AFB as we keep up with UVA basketball, the transfer portal, the comings goings. We'll try to do in-depth stuff in both directions. And I can tell you this: I'm constantly refreshing my various sources I use to find out who Virginia is getting and who's leaving and that kind of thing. So try to do my best to keep up with all that. Anyway, thanks for your time today. Great talking with you.